Last night, the Giants bullpen stepped up in a huge way, and tonight we get an exciting Major League debut. Let's see if the Giants can keep this thing going.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015. I've been hosting this show for over 5 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, so check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. Today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. And coming up on today's show, we're going to discuss the fact that the Giants came up big. The Giants bullpen came up big, and we just actually 39 seconds ago on Twitter got a update on the roster move that was the one I was waiting on in terms of the debut also of Hayden Birdsong, which is going to come tonight, and that'll be something we discuss in the second segment of the show. But last night, just a huge bullpen game win, another one for the Giants, who have been decimated by injuries, and to win the first two games of this series, especially with the first game coming against Justin Steele. So they take down the Cubs ace in game one. And then in game two last night, the bullpen was just sensational. And they deserve all the credit in the world. I mean, Randy Rodriguez, 2 2/3 innings, started it out with 5 Ks, 2 walks, 1 hit allowed. And he did allow a run. The last hitter he faced drove in a run, but still 2 2/3 with just 1 run allowed. And that would be the last run the Giants would allow in this game. And so then it was Sean Jelly for 2 scoreless innings, 2 strikeouts, only 2 hits allowed. And Taylor Rogers, a walk and a hit, and a strikeout. Ryan Walker continues to be amazing. An inning and a third. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Tyler Rogers, a clean 8th when it was a 1-run game. It was 2-1 for like most of this game. The Giants scored 2 in the second. Cubs got 1 in the third, and then that was the score going into the bottom of the 8th. And so this was a tight game. So every time any of these relievers came in, pretty much, they had to be perfect, or else you were going to give this game up. And they were pretty much perfect. I don't want to say perfect because there were base runners here and there, but sometimes some of these guys take some heat. Like Tyler Rogers takes some heat, even though his ERA on the season is 2.92, and he's just like a setup guy. It's like it's hard to do much better than that. And then a huge outing for Camilo Doval as well, who there's always this narrative that closers can't pitch in non-save situations, or that they why are they using him in a non-save situation? Well, it had no effect yesterday, because what we saw yesterday was Camilo Doval was as crisp as he's been in months against the Cubs in a 5-1 game. They did show on the broadcast. It was kind of interesting. He had like 14 and a third innings, I think it was, both in save situations and in non-save situations, and his ERA was much higher in non-save situations. But you could also look at a Monday through Sunday calendar and just show me his ERA on Thursdays is like 7, and on Mondays it's like under 2. And it doesn't mean, he just likes pitching on Mondays and he hates pitching on Thursdays. This is where it's funny, because I'm a stats guy, but people sometimes think that's what like sabermetrics or statistics are all about. No, we care about meaningful statistics and not the ones that are not meaningful. So to me, um, I get it, like adrenaline and all that, but at the same time, Doval needs to get back in a groove. So it's like almost a good thing to use him in a 5-1 game. If it was 2-1, I would have felt way less comfortable. And it's also just worth noting that he was dominant in this outing and it was not a save situation. So there's just a data point of evidence that it's not about that. It's just about, are you crisp or are you not? And he was very crisp last night, as was just the entire bullpen. So I just wanted to, mention all that because this team, their run prevention has been their biggest problem by far. They're even with this, 1-run effort, they're 25th in ERA at 4.48 on the season. And that obviously is going to create some problems for you when you're 25th in earned run average. And so, in contrast to that, their hitting has been above average. Their team weighted runs created plus is 103, meaning about 3% above average. Their batting average as a team is 14th. Okay, so like middle-ish of the pack. Their on-base percentage is 12th best in Major League Baseball out of 30 teams. Their slugging percentage is middle of the pack at 17th. And their overall wins above replacement per Fangraphs by their position players is 10.4, which is 12th, which is in, close to middle of the pack, but also close to top 10 in Major League Baseball. And yet then we turn around and look at pitching and their earned run average is 4.48, despite the fact, which is 25th. So it's just so obvious that run prevention has been the problem. And so when you get a game like last night, the Giants have lost a bunch of games in which they scored 5 runs recently. And so, and then it's easy to point the finger at the offense for not coming back when you're behind. But, they won 5-4 on Monday against the Cubs and then 5-1 last night. But it's just worth pointing out, if you look at the runs the Giants have scored recently, 5, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5, 2, 7, 13, 3, 6. And this is like a bad stretch of baseball. So I just described basically they lost a game when they scored 6 since it, like in their last 3, 6, 9, 11 games. They've lost a game in which they scored 6. They've lost a game in which they scored 5, another game in which they scored 5, a game in which they scored 4. So they've lost 4 times in 11 games when they've scored 4 or more runs, and 3 times in 11 games when they've scored 5 or more, 5, 5, and 6. And so anyway, it's just been the pitching. So to see them allow 1 run, like the last time they allowed 1 run or less in a game, we have to go all the way back to the 8th of June. So that's even, I think, the last time they allowed 2 runs or less in a game, if I'm not mistaken. They hadn't allowed 2 or fewer runs since they allowed in the first 2 games of their series at the Texas Rangers, when they allowed 2 and 1 run respectively. So it's been 3 runs or more every night. So just getting a game like this is huge. And then tonight we turn the page and you're going to get an exciting pitching debut from one of their top pitching prospects, someone who is not necessarily super highly regarded when he was drafted, but someone who has absolutely shot up the ranks and become one of the Giants' best pitching prospects, and that's Hayden Birdsong. And so it is just really exciting and also necessary that the Giants make this move here, because they are just so thin on arms, and Hayden Birdsong is going to start. It's not going to be an opener and a follower. He's going to get a pure start here. So coming up in just a minute, we'll preview the exciting debut and what to expect from Hayden Birdsong, and we'll get into it in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode is brought to you in part by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Today's episode is also brought to you in part by LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Are you struggling to close deals? B2B selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. All right, as promised, Hayden Birdsong is making his Major League debut, and it is an exciting day for Giants fans because the more youth and, upside on this team, the better, even, from a watchability standpoint. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Every day is tomorrow. We'll be breaking down the Major League debut of Hayden Birdsong. It is a possibility, as often happens with us, that because tomorrow is a day game, the episode may come out after the second game, depending on tonight's game. Like if it's a really exciting game, we'll try to get that episode out before the game tomorrow, but it may be after tomorrow's game, which is at 12:45. A reminder that you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Giants. Also, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Hayden Birdsong is going to make his, I want to say highly anticipated, but not long anticipated, because this guy was drafted in the 6th round in 2022. And so it's a quick kind of meteoric rise for Birdsong, whose ETA, according to Fangraphs entering the season, was 2026. So wrong there. And the grades on his pitches, they give him a 60 out of 80 on the 20 to 80 scouting scale for his fastball, a 50 now and 55 in the future for his slider, a current 55 on his curveball. They don't like the changeup. They give it a 30 on the 20 to 80 scouting scale, so that's very poor. And then the command, they give a 30 right now and a 40 in the future, 40 I think being roughly average, maybe a little below average. So if there's one thing to look out for, it would be command. But the strikeout rates are just super impressive. He literally has not struck out less than 30% of batters at any level at any point in his pro career. And that's nice to see. And so this guy is 22 years old, turns 23 in August. And, he started the year in Double-A, made 11 starts, struck out 31% of batters, almost, one out of every 3 batters he faced, he struck out almost. And he walked 10% of batters. So that's a little bit high on the walk rate, but it's also quite high on the strikeout rate. And his earned run average there in Double-A, which is a tough place to hit, granted, was 2.05. And then he was promoted to Triple-A, where he made just 2 starts. And unlike Double-A, it's a very notoriously tough place to pitch. And in his 2 starts, he struck out 33.3% of batters faced. So I'm guessing literally exactly 1/3 of all batters he faced, he struck out. And he walked 14% of batters. So that's too high. But nonetheless, the strikeout stuff is there, very much so. And so, he's going to start. In his 2 starts in Triple-A, he pitched a total of 9 innings, and that was with, giving up quite a few walks. And so he's probably stretched out to go beyond. That would be what, 4.5 innings. So he could go at least 5, if he pitches effectively. I don't know what his pitch counts have been. I could probably find that. But Hayden Birdsong, he's going to make that debut, and it's just, do they show me the pitch counts here? So he went 4 innings in his Triple-A debut, and then he went 5 innings in the next. They're not showing me pitches, but they are showing me, we're not seeing pitches there. But anyway, he's maxed out at 6 innings pitched, and that was in one of his last starts, his 3rd to last start in Double-A. And so, this guy could go 5-6 innings, like, if he's pitching effectively. And I just think it's very exciting. It comes at a time when the Giants bullpen has been decimated by injuries. And they need some arms. They need some starting pitching. And to get a 22-year-old on the mound, someone who's, legitimately a promising prospect like Hayden Birdsong, he might not be good right away, but nevertheless, he is a highly regarded prospect within the Giants system. I think that it's very exciting for fans. And, that's just something fans love, is young players making their debuts. And if they perform well, obviously all the better in that case. And so I'm very excited to see this guy pitch. He's certainly earned it. Just because he wasn't a super high draft pick doesn't mean that he's not someone who's exciting, because it wasn't just this year. Last year as well, he in high A pitched extremely well, and then pitched in he started the year in low A, I should say, actually, last year, and pitched extremely well, struck out 38% of batters, moved up to high A, where he struck out 33% of batters, and then moved up to Double-A, where he struck out 32% of batters. So they just couldn't stop him from K-ing guys all along the way. But the ERA in Double-A was a bit bloated, and then he repeated Double-A this year to start, and it was, the ERA was super low, and then all the way to Triple-A. So a very fast rise here for Birdsong, drafted out of Eastern Illinois University, again, 2022. So this is another this regime draft pick. We're starting to see more and more of those guys, and a lot of those guys have had some success. Patrick Bailey looks, I'm almost tempted to say, like a bona fide star player at this point. And Kyle Harrison looks like a solid mid-rotation starter right now with the upside for more. And there are other guys that we could discuss, but those are the 2 that come to mind. And then, a lot of fines that they've, like Lamont Wade Jr. getting him for nothing, and Tyro Estrada getting him for basically nothing. Brett Wisely is having a nice little breakout season quietly. So there are some young players coming into the mix here. It takes a while for a new regime's draft picks to kind of come to fruition and start, becoming a pipeline of young talent. But Birdsong is kind of a significant name here to get the call. And so I'm very excited. And so coming up in just a minute, we will talk about roster moves, because the Giants had to open up a 40-man spot to get Birdsong onto the roster. And so we've got a lot of movement here, and we will get into all the movement, because it is a lot. It really is a lot, and it is significant. So all of that in just a minute. And before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you in part by Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Giants, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? collections season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated tax matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode description below. Today's episode is also brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members, myself included. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including, yes, that's right, the great state of California. So for me, I won my entries yesterday that I showed you live on the show with the over on half an RBI for Matt Chapman. He actually came through with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th with the Giants up. So it was like the last batter, the last chance, and he got a 2-run single. So that was great. And also I took the over on a Cody Bellinger strikeout, and he did in fact strike out. So turned $20 into $70 with that. And tonight, for those of you on YouTube, there we go. There are my picks. I'm taking the over on, more than half a hit for Jorge Soler and more than 1.5 strikeouts for Michael Busch, who has a strikeout rate close to 30%. And with Hayden Birdsong and his strikeout stuff and being new to the league, I just think I'm just going with Michael Busch striking out a little bit tonight. And so for that, it is $20 to win to pay 60. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, as promised, the corresponding roster moves, you can see here if you're watching on YouTube that on my little sheet over my shoulder here, I can never do this right, that way, that I say Black recalled and Burgos optioned. And so we have even more news involving one of these 2 players. That's how much there's been movement with even the same players within a 2-day span. So the Giants are kind of scrambling here, and we'll break down the significance momentarily. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Every dayers tomorrow, we'll be breaking down the debut of Hayden Birdsong, and maybe we'll also be doing the the finale of this series, which will be Jordan Hicks against Shota Imanaga. And that's one pitcher the Giants haven't seen. I think they've seen everybody else along the way here. But Jordan Hicks, is one of the Giants' better starters himself. And so we'll see how things go. And anyway, a reminder that you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Giants. And also a reminder that right after the game, tonight, with the debut of Hayden Birdsong, instant reaction from Eric Engel on Postcast, Locked On Giants Postcast. It is available live on Locked On Sports San Francisco on YouTube. So check out that channel. Definitely subscribe, hit the bell notification, and right after the game for instant reaction, join the conversation, all of that great stuff that is available to you, for free, wherever you get your podcast. I mean, first live on YouTube, and then it goes onto this podcast feed afterwards. It doesn't go onto the YouTube channel feed. It stays on its own YouTube channel, Locked On Sports San Francisco. But anyway, check that out for sure. So we've got roster moves galore. The Giants, yesterday, before the game, they recalled Mason Black from Triple-A, needing, they've got so many multiple inning guys right now in the mix in the bullpen because they've got so many innings to cover in the bullpen. And they also optioned Raymond Burgos, who had just made his major league debut the previous game. And he had been added to the 40-man roster the previous game. And so they just used him for like one inning, and that was it. And then he was sent back down. And then today, poor Raymond Burgos, he was designated for assignment to clear spot on the 40-man for Hayden Birdsong. So Birdsong added to the 40-man, Burgos taken off, and they had to make a corresponding major league roster move, and that was to option Mason Black. So Black was just here for coverage for yesterday in case the bullpen wasn't as good and efficient as it was, but they were able to get through the game with the pitchers they got through the game with. And so Mason Black was only up for one day, didn't pitch, and now he's sent back down. And so Birdsong is added to the roster. Burgos is designated for assignment. So they're kind of scrambling. You can tell by the moves they're making here. And this isn't lack of preparation. This is just simply a team that has been ravaged by injuries. If I look at their, pitcher injured list, it's just kind of wild with Tristan Beck, Alex Cobb, Kyle Harrison, Robbie Ray, Blake Snell, and Keaton Wynn on the injured list. You've also got Ethan Small and Austin Warren as pitchers on the injured list as well. But I think it's that those first group of players were already on the 40-man. I'm not entirely sure why. It's maybe they're relievers as opposed to starters is what it's showing me. It's like separating that first group of 6, Tristan Beck, Alex Cobb, Kyle Harrison, Robbie Ray, Blake Snell, Keaton Wynn. Those are starting pitchers. And so when currently your starting rotation is Logan Webb and Jordan Hicks, on roster resource, they're showing Mason Black in that starting rotation. He was just optioned. And so, Hayden Birdsong, I would imagine, he's going to have an opportunity if he pitches well to pitch again. And eventually, if all these guys come back, then they're going to run out of room. But right now they have the opposite problem where they don't have enough pitching. And so that's why the bullpen stepping up was huge. It's also why you're going to need some length out of Hayden Birdsong. If I look at the pitching staff, I guess Spencer Bivens didn't pitch last night, but he pitched the previous day. I think he went a couple innings at least. Sean Jelly pitched last night. I don't think Eric Miller pitched last night. Ryan Walker did. Taylor and Tyler Rogers did. Camilo Doval did. And so, there's actually a handy dandy little thing they show us. So yeah, Spencer Bivens, he threw 43 pitches 2 days ago. Luke Jackson is probably going to see some action tonight. And then in terms of Ryan Walker, Taylor Rogers, Tyler Rogers, and Doval, they all pitched yesterday, but not the previous day. So they should be available again today. And then you've got Hicks going the next day, and you're probably going to need some length out of Hicks. And so it's a bit of a scramble right now for sure. But I think that, people were thinking about Hayden Birdsong. We mentioned Hayden Birdsong. We mentioned Carson Wisenhunt as another player whom the Giants could add to their major league rotation, like sooner rather than later. He's made 16 starts in Triple-A, so he's just down there, pitching every 5th day or whatever in Triple-A with a strikeout rate of 29%. And so he's definitely an option too at some point if they need to do this. But for now, the choice was Birdsong over Wisenhunt. I don't know if it was like more of a preferring a right-handed pitcher versus a left-handed pitcher. I think it's more of a performance thing because, I don't know. I think they're similarly talented. Maybe, Wisenhunt has showed up on some top 100 lists, whereas Birdsong never has. And so it is interesting that they go with the younger and, less upper minors experience Birdsong than with Carson Wisenhunt. But it's nice to have. That's why you need a pipeline of young talent. There's just so many injuries that happen over the course of 162 games that you can have all these pitchers and they can all go down. And then it's like great when you can have exciting young talent that is able to fill those spots. And they have to be ready. You can't just rush guys to the majors. And so in previous years, they've been slow to promote guys at times, but the last couple of years they've been kind of fast to promote guys. Like Patrick Bailey just shot up and it was kind of a total surprise when he was added to the roster last year, and look what became of him. And also Luis Matos and Marco Luciano kind of saw aggressive promotions starting last year, and now there they are on the roster and in the mix and kind of up and down at this point. But yeah, and then Elliot Ramos, he just kind of was aggressively promoted a few years ago, and this year getting that run and becoming, he's been their best hitter. And I mean, Patrick Bailey's up there with him in terms of most valuable this season offensively. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just nice to see young talent, and hopefully Birdsong can be a good young pitcher for the Giants for years to come, and the story is going to start tonight for him. So anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers tomorrow, breaking down the debut of Hayden Birdsong, possibly squeezing in also the day game into that episode, tomorrow's day game. So Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much, so thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. I cannot wait to be with you again tomorrow. Really excited about this Hayden Birdsong debut. Giants going for 3 out of 3 or 3 out of 4, and then with the chance to go 4 out of 4 tonight. So going for 3 out of 4 tonight, and then if you win, you could possibly sweep a 4-game series. That would be huge. So thanks again for listening. You are now Locked On Giants.